So I've been building this bag up over the past few years, collecting discs from tournaments, friends, buying a few of them. With it, I've been able to achieve my highest rating of 928. I've gotten a few aces. I shot a 10-10 rated round. It was at my home course, but whatever. For those of you who are new to the channel, maybe this is your first video you're seeing with us. My name is Chris. I am Chantel's videographer, editor, and also her fiance. A few of you over the past few videos have been asking for my in the bag because I do throw a mixed bag, and we thought we'd share it with you. Starting off with the actual bag itself, it's nothing fancy, just this Innova bag, pretty beat up. It served its purpose, but I am looking to upgrade, maybe get a little more quality. I do like bags over carts. I don't know why, I just like carrying it. I like to carry 2 towels, one for dirt and mud, and then the other one to actually dry the discs. But let's get into the good stuff. Okay, starting off with the putters, I would have to say this is where my bag is completely solid. I'm very happy with my selection that I have here. As some of you may know, I putt with the Judges. I find them the best. They're nice and thin. I like how shallow they are. Feel like I'm able to just like dagger putts in. Last year when I was struggling with my putting, I just found a lot of confidence in these. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the timing of my skills developing, but I was able to make the most progress with putting with Judges. I don't know plastics very well, but these are the very tacky, like grippy, bendy ones, and I just love it. Feels great in my hand. I feel like I can use it all throughout the different seasons. I really like having that little extra grip. It gives me a little more confidence when putting. I also use a beat-in Judge as my straight to slight turnover putter, and I just love it for upshots or like trying to hit like a narrow fairway. When it hits the ground, it just grabs, so you don't have to worry about skidding too far, and if it hits a tree, since it's so flexible, it doesn't just shoot off into the forest. A new addition to my bag that I am in love with is the PA5. Chantel got me one. This thing is honestly magical. It glides forever. It just keeps going right. It feels great in the hand. It has a nice curve that fits my palm very well. But I find its flight just super addictive to watch as it just turns over to the right and just glides, lands out nicely. It is great. And here is one of my favorite discs. I love this thing. This is a Discmania Link. It is my main throwing putter. It is slightly overstable in this plastic. I use this thing all the time. You can put a slight ante on it and it'll just kind of come out, and it's a great reliable putter to be throwing. It has a bead that a lot of people I've talked to have complained about, but I really enjoy it. It seems to just come out of my hand a little better. I'm also not too particular about beads, so that's just me. This is actually my ace disc. I've been able to get all of my aces within a few weeks of each other, and 2 of them were with this. So maybe that's why I like it so much. Next putter is almost a meme. It is the Berg. I never sought out to buy one. I thought they were interesting, and luckily enough, my friend Dale gave me one. I didn't think I would actually bag it, but after throwing it a few times and doing some touchy forehand shots, I was like, wow, this is actually usable. It kind of just dies out at the end and just plops down, and you don't have to be too scared when you need to run something. It also doesn't require too much touch. It really just stays on whatever line you put it on. It has that weird dimpled edge that you can kind of sink your thumb into, and they're pretty cool. Really fun to throw. I don't use it all the time. What I really use for my forehand upshots are the Zone. This is my second Zone in this plastic. I had to get another one because the first one I got signed by Paul Macbeth and Hannah Macbeth, so I kind of want to keep that. But what I like about this Zone so much is for my forehands, I'm able to just rip on it and it doesn't turn over. It doesn't require a lot of touch, and that's where I struggle with my forehands, so it kind of just balances out. So like I said, I'm actually very happy with this lineup for my putter section. I don't feel like there's any holes. I really enjoy what I have here, and everything kind of just works. Moving on to my favorite section of my bag, I love throwing mid-ranges. If I could, I would just throw mid-range all the time. For those of you who are fans of the channel, you might notice that one of my discs is missing. My Origin has been lost at a tournament in the snow. We weren't able to find it. It was a fine shot, just turned over. We looked for the 3 minutes and had to move on. So safe to say I did not do well that tournament. So I have this MD, it's pretty beat in. This is back when Innova used to make it. I like it. It used to fly just dead straight, and now I can get it to actually turn over. And it's not as unstable as my Origin. Like, you don't just throw it straight and then it'll come over by itself. You have to rip on it a little bit and then it'll start going to the right. It is the C-line plastic, so it works well in most weather, but I find in the cold my hands just slip right off of it. Same with my MD3. This used to be my favorite go-to disc of my entire bag until it got too beat in, and now it's almost unreliable once there's a little bit of wind, and that kind of sucks. This was also back when Innova used to make them, so the new ones are way more stable. I've tried them, and they just aren't the same. So I do keep this in my bag. I don't throw it as much as I used to, but I do love it. And now a newer addition to my bag is this Buzz. I've been throwing this a lot. It is great. It has a lot of glide. I got this from a tournament that I played in, and I was lucky enough to design the stamp. I think it turned out pretty cool, so definitely have to bag it. I also got the really cool colors of the purple and pink all mixed together. I think that's one of the reasons why I keep it in my bag, just the look of it. But as for flight, I love this thing because I love releasing discs on hyzer and just watching them flip up, and that's exactly what this does. If you rip on it a lot, you're able to get it to turn over, but nothing crazy. Like, it's not just going to rip over and roll on you, at least not for me yet. I find I'm using this shot anywhere from 250 to 300, depending on the flight that is needed. And yeah, this seems to be my main mid at the moment. I found I had a hole in my bag, so I've been on the search for an overstable mid, and I've landed on the Rock 3 in Star Plastic. It's been great to me so far. I wanted to get a mid-range that was so stable I could sidearm it with my little touch, and this is not it. I cannot do that, but this is great for backhands. I love releasing this thing on Annie and just having it slowly come out and fade with a big S. It's been a lot of fun to play with, and I find with my increasing arm speed, I've actually been able to use this for a lot more straighter shots. It's in my bag for now, but I'm open for suggestions if you guys have any recommendations for overstable mids. All right, on to the fairways. You might be surprised I only have 6. I find a lot of people have like 8 to 10 usually, but I've been really trying to narrow it down and figure out what actually should go in my bag. Like I said earlier, my arm speed's been changing over the last year, and a lot of these discs are getting super beat in, so this part of my bag needs a lot of changing. So this is what I throw for my understable shots. I have an Essence and I have a Maverick. I find the Maverick to be a little more stable and has the higher chance of coming out of a turn, and the Essence is used for turnovers or dramatic hyzer flips. I find them to be very similar though. Like, I definitely don't need both in my bag. I could make do with one or the other. I find myself going to the Maverick more just because it's not as beat in, but I do love the feel of the Essence. If you guys don't have one of these, you should try them out. They're money. I used to rely on these pretty heavily until I started to notice that they weren't very consistent in the wind, and once I started to get beat up, I was like, dang, I need that reliability. So I started to go more stable. What I did for that was I went with the Royal Rage 2. This thing was a meat hook when I first got it. I really liked the stamp on it. I thought it was cool. I thought it would fit my bag perfectly, but I found it a little too stable. After throwing it a little bit and beating it in, I was able to get it to a nice consistent, it would go straight with a heavy fade, but unfortunately it hit a rock one of the times and took a gouge out of the edge, and now it will turn and then fade. I still keep it in my bag, even though it's not that stable to overstable shot that I was looking for. I still find it reliable for the most part, but in headwinds, it doesn't really hold up anymore. This disc is one of the very few that I actually seeked out and tried to find. It is the Eagle by Innova. I saw Kelvin Heiberg throwing this thing, and he made it look so easy. What I didn't know is apparently there's 2 types of Eagles with different bottom plates. One that flies the way that Kelvin throws it, and the one that I got, and this thing is stable. I was very unhappy with that at first, but then once I started using it for sidearms, this thing is great. I love it. I use this for almost all my sidearm shots, unless it's above like 350, and then I just go to a driver. But this thing is great. I love the way it skips up. Throw it all the time, and it's a lot of fun. Now, like I said earlier, I'm struggling to find that stable to overstable disc for my bag, so I have 2 that I'm currently testing. I have the Paul Macbeth Athena, the Test Flight Edition, and I have the ThoughtSpace Votum. This was given to me by a fan. He dyed it. Check it out. This thing is super sick. It's been on my shelf forever, and I finally took it down. Now that Thomas Gilbert is with ThoughtSpace, I was just like, I gotta give it a go. After a few throws with this thing is beefy. I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting it to be that beefy. It is glow, so I don't know if that has something to do with it. I'm looking for something that I can still have it go straight for a while, reliably, and then fade. This, I have to put maybe a little bit of Annie on it, not too much. I feel like after I beat it in a little bit, it will be just right where I need it, and it'll be great. But right now, I just find it a little overstable. This is closer to what I'm looking for, the Athena, It also took a few throws for me to feel it out and understand that it needs a little bit of ante to just go straight. I think just with a couple more tree hits, it'll be perfect. But that's with any disc, I find. Any new disc, you need to throw it a few times because that's how you get the real flight out of it. So yeah, right now, these two are battling for that spot. I don't really know. I'm not leaning either way. This one does look cooler, but I do like the orange of this one. It's very easy to find when I shank it into the woods. Oh baby, the part you guys are probably waiting for. I know you guys love your distance drivers. This has to be the biggest mess in my bag. I don't know what I'm doing. My arm speed isn't 100% there, and with it changing, I'm just struggling to figure out what I should be throwing. Some of the discs that have been a consistent in my bag are this Destroyer and a Shrike. This Destroyer has been with me for a very long time. It is a G-Star. It is one that I shouldn't have been throwing back in the day because I did not have the arm speed 100%. I used to throw it for sidearms, but now I use it for a lot of my backhand shots. This thing has been great to me and I can't see myself replacing it anytime soon. Now this Shrike I got from Foxwood Open here in Canada. Is one of my favorite tournaments to play in. I started throwing it because I wanted to get a little more turn out of my shots, and I realized that it worked very well with my arm speed. Chantel let me try a D3 from her bag, and I used to throw that, getting my max distance with that, and it was incredible, but unfortunately it got too beat in and just turned over on me. So then I switched over to this Shrike, which they have similar numbers, I believe. This thing is one of my go-tos when I have to bomb a shot out there and try to keep it as straight as possible. It also works well on turnovers that you need to throw up high and then just have it fade out. It feels great in the hand. I'm not in love with it. If there's another disc that you guys think would better fit that section of my bag, I'd love to hear it. Oh yeah, also I have this D3 that I stole from Chantel. It has her stamp on it, and I was hoping to replace my Shrike just because why not? Why not have a stamp that I really enjoy? And look, it's two wolves, that's pretty sick. But this thing is way more stable than that. I find I'm using it for anti-release shots that need to come out. I'm able to get a lot of distance with these. I don't know if it's because it's so domey, but I feel like after a little bit of time breaking this in, this will actually take over my Shrike's position in my bag. On to the beefy boy. If you guys are fans of the channel, you might recognize this red disc. It is my go-to sidearm disc for distance. It is so stable. I'm able to just chop a sidearm as hard as I can and it usually comes out of it. I love it. It got me in a lot of trouble last year in a few tournaments because I wasn't used to how stable it was. But once I got the hang of it, oh, this thing has been great. This is one that I kind of just pulled off the shelf though, just to fill that spot in my bag of very overstable sidearm discs. I did try a D2 in one of our recent videos, and that could definitely replace this. I'm not attached to this disc at all. I just needed something super overstable. So once again, if you guys have a suggestion, let me know. Alright, so these two Enigmas are in my bag because I fell in love with this one, and then we did a dye video, and I did this one, and I just love it so much. They fly completely different. This one is super bead in, and it will flip in a headwind. Not super reliable. Doesn't really need to be in my bag, to be honest. I do find myself throwing it for some shots, just because I know the flight of it, but it's not very reliable. I don't seem to go to it a lot in tournaments, so I don't really know why it's in my bag. This one is a little more stable. Unfortunately, I can't get as much distance with it, so I might as well just throw my Destroyer that I have a lot more experience with, but I love the dye job I did on it. I love keeping it in my bag as kind of like a backup. And I could see myself throwing this more in the future once my Destroyer gets a little too beat in. So this disc has been in and out of my bag a few times. I've seen a lot of people throwing it, a lot of people hating on it, a lot of people loving it. I don't really know where I stand with this disc. I find myself reaching for it a lot and using it a lot, like in the woods when you need to do a hyzer flip that is in a very narrow path so it doesn't just go all crazy. You definitely can't throw this thing in a headwind, but I do love it for tailwinds, so I keep it in my bag just to kind of fill in that understable position. So yeah, that's my bag. This is the bag I've been able to achieve my highest rating with, been able to shoot my highest rated round ever with, which is kind of surprising because of how unconfident I am in like my fairways and distance drivers. And now that I've lost my origin, there is another space there that I need to fill. But it's been a blast building this bag. What I love about this sport is you can go anywhere and try all these different courses and you'll find a shot that you need. You'll find a need for a disc that you never thought you would throw. So I feel like it's an always changing thing, and that's kind of the beauty of this sport. If you guys see an obvious hole that I'm missing in my bag, let me know. Let me know what disc I should fill it with. I need every advantage I can get to beat Chantel in these upcoming challenges. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.